big picture thing I want you to get is what it is we're doing and why people, even if people are looking to make purchases or something, and I'm sure the publishers of all these magazines can provide me with evidence of like, well, 64% of the people who read this magazine actually use it to make a purchasing decision regarding travel in the upcoming year. That's probably true, but they're not going to 40 countries a month. It's just not happening. And this fantasy, this desire to visit these places is a big part of it. Now I want to shift gears a little bit and I want to talk about imagery, because that's important and I don't think that gets enough attention. Too many times you go to these blog conferences, we talk about big things. Content is king. That's like saying the key to the 100-meter dash is to run fast. Okay? We can talk in big pictures and stuff. I don't think, when I was thinking of doing this, I was like, I could bring up stats and data about how imagery is important, people view things. If you need that to be convinced of what I'm going to tell you, I don't think I can convince you. But what you probably want to get out of this conference is some nuts and bolts things like, okay, what should I do? What are some things I can take away with? So I've come up with some rules about how you can use photography with what you do in your website. Whoops. Rule number one, the best camera you can get is the one you have with you. Nothing pisses me off more as a photographer. They say, oh, Gary, that's such a beautiful image. What camera do you use? I mean, go up to a writer, go to Don George and say, Don, that was a great article. What keyboard do you use? If I could get, what version of Word? Because if I get that version of Word, I'll write like it. Now I confess, with travel, or with photography, there is more of a technical element. And you can do some things with a better camera than you can do with others. Professional photographers use certain kind of cameras for a reason. However, if you don't have a camera with you, use what you have. I've been using this all weekend. I didn't bring my SLR with me. So don't fuss over it. As a certain point, if you want to make money blogging, you got to make an investment in your business. A laptop is an investment, and a camera is too. I don't think everyone has to go out and buy a top-end, Nikon D3X that costs $7,000. You don't have to do that. You don't even have to buy an SLR. But whatever camera you get, you should learn how every single thing on it works, and you should make sure that you know how and when to use it. To give you an example, this photo, which shows up much better on my laptop than on the screen, was taken with this. I used a program called Pano, and I went, and it sticks 4 images together when I was at Monument Valley in Arizona. I think it's a pretty nice picture, and I took it with my iPhone. Rule 2, your photos are part of your story. I see so many people that go to Flickr every time they write something. It's like, well, I gotta have a photo, just grab some photo and just dump it in because it doesn't matter, I just have to have something. No, a crappy photo by you is better than a good photo by someone else because it's yours. It's part of your story. Very nice Chinese woman in Paris. Could have been a model, but this is a woman I met in Paris last year. Her name is June. She was standing in front of the line at the Palace of Versailles. If I had been there 10 seconds later, I would not have met her. She's a PhD. She's a professor of international law. She lives in Sydney, grew up in Beijing. We spent 2 days together in Paris. It was great. We argued, we talked, we did everything. It was 2 wonderful days. And those are my pictures and my memories. And when I told the story, if I had taken some other photos, it just wouldn't have been the same, And if you got some great image off Flickr versus the one from your cheap camera, use the one in your cheap camera, because that has far more emotional impact than just grabbing some random thing off Flickr. Rule 3, pay attention to light. Ultimately, photography is nothing but light. Your eyes deceive you. Like if you were to take a picture of me right now, this is actually poor lighting. And so you're going to want to, but you can probably see me just fine. If you are if you go outside at noon, you're going to see very bright sunlight, you're going to see shadows. And your eye can handle that. The dynamic range of your eye and the width of your eye is much greater than your camera. So you need to be paying attention. I've seen photos people put online, and it's this really cool thing, but it's backlit, right? So you see the shadows, and it doesn't turn into a good photo. Just be cognizant of the light and where it is and how those things work out, and your photos will become much, much better. Like I was showing you before with the photo I took with my iPhone, the reason it was a good photo was because of the light. That's all. I was there at the right time of day. If I was there a little bit later or earlier, it might not have been the same photo. Bigger is better. Well, this guy does have to do with porn. How many of you are familiar with the Boston.com big picture? Yeah, it's awesome, isn't it? All they do is show big photos. That's it. I mean, that's the whole trick to it. It's just stuff off the AP wire usually. But they're 1,000 pixel wide images. I shifted my daily photo from a 600 pixel wide image to a 1,000 pixel wide image sometime in January, and my traffic went up. I moved the inline images I put in a normal article from 240 pixels to 300 pixels. Use the